All right, so you guys wanted us to deep dive into Interstellar, huh? I gotta
Mhm.
say, when I first saw that request, I thought, whoa, okay, we're going big here.
Yeah, it's not just a movie, is it? It's like this phenomenon. People are still debating it, analyzing it.
Seriously, it's like 10 years later,
Yeah.
and it's still sparking arguments about science and philosophy. So, where do we even start?
Well, what fascinates me is how Interstellar works on so many different levels, you know? Like, on one hand, it's a visually stunning space adventure, but then underneath that, it's grappling with these huge questions about humanity, time, even love.
All right, it's making you think,
Yeah.
even while you're glued to the screen with those incredible visuals.
Exactly. It's not just popcorn entertainment. There's real depth there.
Okay, so for anyone who hasn't seen it, maybe a quick recap.
Yeah.
We're in the future. Earth's in bad shape.
Yeah. Think dust storms, crops failing.
Basically, humanity's on the brink.
And then we meet Cooper, ex-NASA pilot, played, of course, by McConaughey.
Oh, McConaughey, yeah, he's got that whole stoic but charming thing down pat.
Absolutely, but he's not just some space cowboy, right? He's a father. And that's where Interstellar really grabs you emotionally, I think.
That scene where he leaves his daughter Murph,
Yeah.
promising to come back, man, it gets me every time.
Sets the stakes incredibly high right from the beginning. This isn't just about some abstract mission. It's about family, about keeping your word to your child.
Right, it's like saving humanity, sure, but it's also about keeping a promise to your kid. So Cooper ends up on this mission. They go through wormhole, right?
Yeah, near Saturn.
Heading to these three potential new homes for humans.
Yeah.
Miller's planet, Man's planet, and Edmund's planet. Each one's got its own set of challenges.
And surprises. This is where Nolan's use of science, both, the actual science and then the more speculative stuff, it really
He
shines.
just throws around terms like time dilation and gravitational singularities like it's nothing.
But it's done in a way that even if you don't understand all the physics, you still get caught up in it.
Yeah, you get how those concepts are impacting the characters, the choices they have to make.
Right? It's not just science for the sake of science, it's woven into the story, the characters' fates.
Like, take Miller's planet. It's this water world, visually incredible, but those waves
Huge.
and that whole thing where 1 hour on that planet equals 7 years back on Earth.
Yeah, talk about a high pressure situation. I mean, every minute counts.
It makes you think, too, about the ethics of it all. Risking years, maybe even decades of your loved ones' lives just for a few hours of exploration.
That's a heavy burden.
And we see that play out in a really tragic way with Dr. Mann,
Mm.
played by Matt Damon.
Oh, yeah. Seemingly the hero, this astronaut who turns out to have faked his data.
He was desperate to be rescued.
So desperate he was willing to betray his crew.
Makes you wonder what any of us would do in a situation like that. Where's the line between doing what you have to for survival and, well, just being a decent person?
Big questions.
And we haven't even gotten to the black hole, the tesseract, the whole five-dimensional space thing. But I think we should probably save that for next time.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms, or maybe a whole other dimension of worms.
I like it. All right, so we'll dive into that mind-bending journey in part 2.
Okay, so last time, things were getting pretty intense. Cooper's making this crazy decision to use a black hole's gravity to slingshot himself to Edmund's planet.
Yeah, it's a last-ditch effort, right? He's basically sacrificing himself so Brand has a chance of making it.
But then, of course, he falls into the black hole. Gargantuan.
I mean, in any other movie, that's at curtains, right?
Right, but not in a Nolan film.
No, instead, we get this whole other journey, the tesseract. Five-dimensional space.
Where time is visual, and Cooper can suddenly see these moments from Murph's life, connect with her across time.
It's mind-blowing visually, but it's also where Nolan really dives into this idea of love as a force, almost like it's fighting against scientific pragmatism.
Remember Brand's argument earlier in the film about love as a quantifiable force?
Yeah, and here it is, playing out right in front of us.
Exactly. And it's not just Cooper sending messages through time, it's like he's trying to change the past.
Like, stop himself from ever leaving Earth in the first place, because he loves his daughter so much.
But here's the paradox, right?
Yeah.
By doing that, by sending those messages, it actually leads to humanity's salvation.
Murph, now a brilliant scientist, she figures it all out. She gets the quantum data he sends from inside the black hole.
And with that data, she solves the gravitational equation.
The one that's key to Plan A, saving humanity.
Talk about an epic father-daughter team effort.
But it's not just about the science, is it? It's that emotional connection between them. If it wasn't for that, Murph wouldn't have paid attention to the ghost in her room. She wouldn't have been driven to solve it.
It makes you think, doesn't it, about how love, this intensely personal thing, might actually be more powerful than we understand.
I know some critics found that whole aspect a bit too sentimental.
Yeah, but I think it raises some fascinating questions about human motivation, especially when facing extinction.
Totally. And the way that scene plays out, with Murph cracking the equation, intercut with Cooper desperately trying to communicate from the tesseract, pure cinematic gold.
So we've got Murph saving the day, but what about Cooper? Still stuck in five-dimensional limbo, last we saw.
Right, but he's done what he needed to. The data's been sent.
So those beings who built the tesseract, those future humans who understand time in ways we can't even imagine, they close it up. And Cooper, he gets spat back out near Saturn.
A little worse for wear, I'm guessing.
Years older, for sure. But he wakes up on a space station, and humanity is alive. They made it off Earth, thanks to Murph.
And then that reunion with Murph, an old woman on her deathbed.
Such a powerful scene. So bittersweet.
It really hits you with the passage of time, the sacrifices made. Decades gone, his kids live their whole lives without him.
But through it all, that love for Murph, it never faded. It literally drove the events that saved humanity.
And even after all that, the mission isn't over. Murph, she knows what her dad did, and she tells him to go find Brand.
Who's out there, somewhere, on Edmund's planet?
So Cooper steals a spaceship, heads off into the unknown. Classic Nolan, ending on a note of both closure and, like, a million new questions.
Exactly. We've got Cooper and Brand, pioneers, carrying the weight of humanity's hopes on their shoulders. What's out there waiting for them? We don't know. But one thing's for sure. Human exploration. Driven by that need to know, to see what's beyond. It's not going to stop.
Okay, so we've talked about the emotional core, the wild science, but Interstellar is also a visual and auditory masterpiece. I mean, the wormhole sequence, Gargantua, the tesseract itself, it's like they redefined what's possible in cinema.
And the score, Hans Zimmer, he outdid himself. Those haunting organ melodies, the sheer scale of it all.
It's not just background music. It's like another character in the story adding to the emotion, the grandeur.
It completely elevates the experience. You're not just watching Interstellar, you're feeling it in your bones.
Yeah, it's true. Interstellar is like this full-on sensory experience. I remember walking out of the theater and I was just, I don't know, overwhelmed by the scale of it, the beauty.
It's not just pretty pictures, though, is it? Nolan's really good at using those visuals, the way he shoots things, to emphasize the themes he's exploring.
Oh, absolutely. Like, think about those vast, open shots of space. And then you cut to the inside of the Endurance, and it's all cramped, claustrophobic.
Yeah, you really feel that contrast. It's like visually he's showing us the tension between this desire to explore, to push boundaries, and the limits of, well, of what we can do with technology, with our own bodies.
And then the sound design. So much of it is silence, the emptiness of space. But then, bam, this sudden roar of an engine or the creaking of the ship.
It keeps you on edge, for sure. Reminds you that out there, anything can happen.
Even down to the cameras and the film stock he used, it all adds to the effect. Shooting on IMAX film, it gives Interstellar this incredible detail, this clarity.
Yeah, you feel like you could reach out and touch the surface of another planet.
Or get caught in one of those dust storms back on Earth. The level of immersion is insane.
It's not just about the visuals, though. The way Nolan plays with time, both in the story and in the editing, it's masterful.
Oh, yeah. Like stretching out those minutes on Miller's planet as they're trying to escape the waves, knowing that every second is years back on Earth.
That sense of urgency, it's palpable.
And then you contrast that with the Tesseract, where past, present, future, it's all happening at once.
It's a trip, for sure. Makes you think about time in a whole new way, how fluid it is, how much it impacts us, even if we don't realize it.
So we've talked about the science, the emotional core, the filmmaking. But what about the critics? Did Interstellar win everyone over?
It's definitely a divisive film. Some people, they loved it. They praised the ambition, the big ideas, the willingness to really grapple with complex stuff.
They saw it as a modern classic, a film that will be talked about for years to come.
But others, they found it a bit too sentimental, too heavy-handed with the emotions, even a little preachy at times.
That whole love conquers all aspect.
Yeah, some people felt like it was a cop-out, a way to avoid the harder questions.
But even the critics who weren't totally sold, they couldn't deny the technical brilliance, the visual power of the film. And that's what's great about Interstellar, right? It gets people talking.
It sparks debate. It makes you think long after you've seen it, and that's what good science fiction should do, in my opinion.
So after all this, after our deep dive, what can we take away from Interstellar? Is it just a piece of entertainment, or is there something more?
I think it reminds us of the power of human curiosity, that drive to explore, even when things seem impossible.
That need to understand what's out there, beyond our own little world.
It also highlights how important scientific literacy is, understanding these complex issues that are facing our planet, our species.
And it emphasizes the importance of connection. Those bonds that unite us, even across vast distances, across time.
Whether it's love between family members or scientists working together, or just that shared hope for a better future.
Those connections, they drive us forward. They make us who we are.
Interstellar reminds us that the future isn't set in stone. It's shaped by the choices we make, the actions we take.
The stories we tell ourselves and each other.
It's a call to dream big, to think critically, and to work towards a future that's worthy of our best selves. Interstellar, it stays with you, you know?
Oh, definitely. It makes you think, it makes you feel.
It challenges you to look up at the stars and wonder, what's out there? What's our place in all of this? And even when faced with the unknown, remember those human connections?
The love, the ingenuity.
Those are the things that can guide us.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But hey, Interstellar is out there. Go watch it again. Maybe you'll see something new after all this.
And let us know what you think. The conversation never really ends, does it?
Nope. And that's what makes it so great. Until next time, on The Deep Dive.